What? Agriculture, any living animal has a mind of its own, including humans. Okay. They are not like getting gored is your own fault to some degree because you got too close to something that's completely uncontrollable.
What did he get gored by?
I Somebody got gored by a bull over in Irontown. So, and the producer that runs in those areas probably doesn't go and hand feed its cows. They're range cows. Like they're wild animals. I don't know what to tell you. It's one of those things. Control the uncontrollables, meaning get out of the area if you are around livestock and you are not an quote unquote experienced producer. It's just better to give them their space. It's like a wild animal. You don't go and pet a baby deer for fear of its mom. You definitely don't go and try to pet a moose. Have you met moose? They're ridiculous.
Speaking speaking of livestock, a few weeks ago I was up in Star Valley, Wyoming, and I went for a ride and I went up the mountain in a trough. So I'm going up the road and there's I don't know, 50 cattle. And they were running from me, basically. They were running in front of me.
Right, like you're scary. What is this
Okay,
thing?
well, hold on. Then all of a sudden they stopped. Just all of them just stopped.
Okay.
I should have really take notice of that. So I just pass them and keep going on my bike. Then I get to this hill that is literally 30, 35% grade.
Oh man.
I'm like, oh, no wonder they stopped. So you can learn a lot from cattle.
Well, what's incredible is somehow in all of my living in southern Utah and eastern Nevada, okay, there are trails of animals everywhere. They make it up cliffs, they make it down cliffs. They do
Yeah.
some really hard stuff. Their bodies were built for really hard stuff. Their feet have really cool knobby things called hooves.
Yeah.
They get up and down stuff like that.
So I got up it, but trust me, I was not on my bike. I was walking and I got about halfway up and I'm like, oh, jeez. No wonder they stopped and just said, go ahead and try it, buddy.
Well, so we can learn lessons from livestock, I although the opposite would be said true as well, because some livestock are so stubborn that it is very intentional during a training process. Some animals, period. There's dogs and cats alike. Apparently you can even train a ferret, but of course I'm not the animal wrangler. I have two dogs and a rabbit at home. Welcome to Wired Wednesday. This is your host, McKinnon Hansen. What's really cool with Jesse and I and what we get to talk about is we basically talk about whatever we want.
Yeah.
And the last few shows that we've done with Jesse at with the Larkin Group at Keller Williams Realty.
Say that 5 times fast.
Oh man, I'm super on the struggle bus today. So we've been talking about mindset shift things, and the last show we talked about was going through change or what we can go through and how we can show up differently, right?
Yep.
So today we got talking earlier today and throughout the last little week is how we show up matters, but how do we start planning for the changes that are inevitably there, right? Last show we were talking about change and how the only thing consistent in life is change, rather than humans plan for consistency, right? So with that, in planning and trying to depend on that consistency, knowing change is always happening, how do we learn to expect the unexpected and be able to pivot or shift faster?
So let me put this conversation actually into context a little bit. So how this came up in my life is our organization, we're with a nationwide organization called Place. And we're doing let's just call it a contest, but we're doing a massive um, intention 60 days so that the end of the year can really finish out great. So what happens in life is like I'll make some huge goal that I want to accomplish, and then like the second or third or fourth day in, I get hit with life, right? Whether for you, for instance, the kids get sick, or you know, God forbid, Chad gets hurt, or something, right? Life happens.
Mm-hmm.
In business, you get really busy, so now all of a sudden you don't have time for the big goal that you set.
Yep.
And next thing you know, you're a week and a half later going, what happened? I got derailed and I didn't
It,
do the goal.
well, and then you get over, for me, it's getting overwhelmed of well, shoot, I got to catch up so many days. I got to do this.
Or,
I got to do all these things.
or the other end of that spectrum is, oh, it wasn't really that important anyway. I'm not, that's not really for me.
It,
It's what most of us do. When we get overwhelmed like that because we've been derailed, it wasn't really that important. I can do it another time.
well, and what happens is fast forward 20 years,
And you're still doing that, right?
we're still doing those things.
I go through that with the gym because I hate the gym. I just hate it, right? But
Mm-hmm.
sometimes I can't ride my bike and I should be going to the gym. But I'll have all the great intentions in the world and I love riding. But I'll be a weekend going, man, I didn't go for what happened?
Mm-hmm.
What happened?
So
Why?
how do we start just kind of breathing in like the acceptance of yesterday was today, or yesterday was yesterday, today's today, and tomorrow's tomorrow, without getting overwhelmed with the shoulda, coulda, wouldas, right? Or the life pivots, like people getting sick or getting in car accidents or, having house losses. Or, by the way, there's three major wildfires in southern Utah right now, over 10,000 acres apiece. And producers, campers, recreationers are all having to shift their vacations.
What was
Okay. Sorry. Sorry. The Silver King Reef or Silver whatever that one is up. And the one they've labeled Deer Springs is over 10. I apologize. Thank you for being the fact checker. So regardless, it's it's where we're shifting and pivoting our lives to, or what can we control for this 5 minutes? One thing that I was a really hot-headed teenager. My dad can attest to this.
wait a minute, was hot headed?
Right. But strategically was for just a second. But one thing I learned in my early 20s is the longer I hold on to anger and fear, the more it controls my life. It takes me 3 to 5 hours to come back from how dare I be late to this for 5 minutes?
Okay, so
Or,
I want to go a little bit deeper than that. It's not just anger or fear. It's regret, it's
mm-hmm,
shame, it's all of that stuff that's combined. How long am I going to hang on to this stuff that's allowing me to stay in excuse
yep,
versus okay, that happened. Let's just now what?
right.
How can I reset? And if I'm in anger, frustration, guilt, shame, I cannot reset. It's
No,
impossible.
and one thing that I tried really hard to be was like OCD and have everything in line this morning or in line in my life. Like I knew my plan and nothing was going to break my plan and all this stuff. And the more and more I held on to those false beliefs, the more crappy my life seemed to get, right? I was always in this reactionary stage. I was always so high strung. And it took
This is so
until,
good. You let us right into a perfect thing here. Okay, so you are so good at having a list of 12 things that
or more.
have, have to be changed, have to be fixed, have to be, look, this is so important.
Yes,
Here's the problem. All of us, especially if it's not something that we do every day, that we're not in the habit of, no matter how good you are, we have the capacity to change
agreed.
one thing at a time.
And most oftentimes we have to change ourselves in how we show up and how we perceive the reality of what's actually happening. Am I am I projecting all of my fears and everything onto everybody else involved in this situation, or am I the one that needs to change?
Or am I blaming them? So
Oh,
I
so many
my
things.
so my assistant, I've been struggling for years to figure out how in the world do I struggle so much to follow a schedule. And a few weeks ago, Jeremy Larkin asked her, "Hey, you've been here a few weeks now, and how is it that you are the best can to help?" And she said, "Oh, I've been thinking about this. I've been thinking about this." He gets so hyper fixated on looking at the whole day at once that he gets lost and doesn't get anything done instead of finishing one thing at a time.
Don't
She
all
said
of
that
us?
after working with me for 2 or 3 weeks.
Yeah, 100%. We both you and I do that because we look at our calendar and we're like, oh man, we have to talk to this person. We have to make this phone call. We have to run over here. We have to do that. We have to order groceries and order pickup and make sure that we're getting on time. And did we forget any of the groceries? And did we get over there for that play date? Or did we make it to the birthday party? Or Lord forbid, we forgot the gift for the damn birthday party. I feel like all of this, and then people look at my life. In fact, I love my friend for saying this yesterday, but she was like, McKenna, you're just always so busy all the time. We don't know how to talk to you. And I felt really bad in that moment. And then I was like, however, I can control how I show up into this situation, right? If what I am doing does not serve my 5 to 10 years goals and the energy is not right in some of those relationships, I am allowed to change my story. I am allowed to show up differently. I am allowed to pivot for pivot's sake on if this life is not how I thought it would be, or today is not how I thought it should have gone. I don't have to carry that into tomorrow. So with our shifts and getting overwhelmed and all of the things, if we wrap it up to that was yesterday, today is today, how can I show up better and differently today to get to the outcome that I want?
That's exactly it. Am I able to go, oh, hey, this isn't working? Pivot. Oh, hey, what happened there? Pivot. Oh, hey, wait a minute. This is working. How can I do more of that?
And I think to some degree, general population is just kind of moseying through this game of life, right? They're like, oh, that's kind of not really good for me. And I'm going to keep walking towards it. And then, oh, it really wasn't good for me. So I'm going to slowly walk this other way. And then I'm going to find it on the other side of like this other corner over here and then mosey around. But for us, for high performers, Jesse and I are very high performers. We have task lists, we have goals, we have things that get accomplished to some degree every day. We pivot and shift immediately or in a higher degree of likelihood quicker than most people out there. We are allowed to shift. If this extra tablespoon of mayonnaise does not serve me in 5 years, why am I doing it? Don't buy it. Don't store it. Don't have it in the house.
Yeah,
Right?
for
If
sure.
if me not going to the gym, when it's crappy weather outside and not riding my bike, does that serve my 5 year goal?
Years ago when I used to drink, I loved everything about, I mean, everything about the drinking lifestyle. I love to go sing karaoke. I
You're
love to
still a
play
good karaoke
pool.
singer.
I mean, oh, I love that. I don't know how good I am, but I'm sure entertaining. But and I couldn't figure out how come I couldn't get sober and still do those things on a regular basis. Still go play pool and still go out, right? Because it was the lifestyle that is inducive to drinking.
Mm-hmm.
It baffled me for years. I just couldn't figure it out. Like, man, how come I can't do this? And then I realized, oh, well, I didn't realize I beat myself into submission. Let's put it that
All right.
way. Going, oh, okay, I probably shouldn't do that. Probably shouldn't be going there, especially alone,
Mm-hmm.
or especially with people that drink, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is that same kind of thing. Or what are the habits or what are the things that I could be doing that will lead me or that will um, um, encourage me to do the things that I actually really want to do.
Well, and this really goes through too, because expecting the unexpected or being able to shift around changes or just kind of drop one ball, pick it up, drop that plate because it's not serving you, pick up a different plate. You're always juggling things back and forth anyways. If the things in your life are not getting you where you think you deserve, take an internal checklist. Am I doing the right things? Like if I told myself that this is what I want to look like in 5 years, business, motherhood, friendship, community leader, all of these things, what am I doing today to change that? How am I showing up today in my best light and my best self? Am I throwing a toddler fit because I didn't get the icing on the cake just right? Or am I being like, all right, there's a dash of creativity, let's move forward, right? Am I allowing my $5 coffee to get in the way of where I want a down payment for a second house in 5 years? Did you know $5 a day adds up to a lot of money a year and adds up to a significant amount of money over 5 years?
See how much?
So much. We're not going to talk about the $5 coffee. It's too simple. So
Oh, almost $2,000, $1,800.
a year over 5 years, how much is that? $10,000 and change. Okay.
9,100.
Sorry, 9,100. Thank you for being specific. But I'm just saying, like over a 5 year period, how are
A
we
lot.
changing ourselves $5 a day? Are we
Yeah.
reading that book? Are we feeding our mindset? Are we doing the things that take 5 minutes? It is a 5 minute activity to feed our brains better things. It's a 5 minute activity to change the people we surround ourselves with.
Okay, I'm actually going to challenge you right there.
Okay.
So I think that's the biggest thing we do is we're not honest about actually what is involved because it's not a 5 minute activity.
Okay.
It's 30 minutes a day. It's actually probably an hour a day to do the 5 things that are most impactful in my
Yes.
life. It's not 5 minutes. So when I tell myself it's 5 minutes and then it turns into an hour, I don't do it
Okay.
because I lied to myself.
Okay. Step back 2 seconds. In my 5 minute version of this, it is my 5 minutes of making it a big deal or having a funeral on it,
Okay,
making it a
okay, okay,
priority or
okay.
and
That
putting it
that
on the
makes more
schedule.
sense.
So it's a 5 minute
Okay,
thing for me to prioritize my day,
so it's not the activity itself.
not the activity itself. No, I
Okay,
apologize. Other,
okay,
but the 5 minute activity is reviewing the calendar. Are these priorities? Are these the things that need to get done to make my 2, 5, and 10 year goals?
okay. That makes sense.
Right? But it's 5 minute activity of me making a conscious choice of today I'm going to put energy into that, or today I can't. And
Yeah.
that shifts with mom life, wife life. I have brothers, that shifts every time I talk to them and they need help. That shifts
Mhm.
with both sets of parents,
Yeah.
right? So I'm constantly shifting, quote unquote, my 5 minutes, but the activities are scheduled. And
Okay.
I'm honoring
Okay.
the
That makes
space
sense.
with that. And
That
that's
makes
how
sense.
I pivot, or that's how I change, or that's how I adapt so quickly. Or I've learned, it's learned behavior, guys. This has taken years. I have been out of high school 15 years. And in high school, I was a
Oh boy.
yep. In
Wow.
high school, I was a drastically different person. People who knew me in high school do not recognize me today,
Yeah.
right? I was a hot headed, hot to trot. Things are going to go my way perfectly. And it was a really hard, painful life. And it was really hard in learning that I was the prime problem of that.
And I thought, hang on a second here. Because that struck me, and I thought, so for clarification, was that you're going to change to different people being around you to disassociate from a group that might be holding you back, or you actually going to try to change other people? Because in my experience, that doesn't work.
I would, in my own personal life, I look at people in my life of do I have the ability to influence their change themselves?
Yeah, but the actual change still has to be self-driven.
Agreed. And then I put a timeline on it. I give it a year or two of them manifesting their own life and me helping them through different things, through book suggestions or group suggestions or connections that I create with people. But at the end of the day, if they're choosing not to prioritize their 2, 5, and 10-year goals, I can't force them to do that. I can help them find better resources to make those things possible. So for me, 5 minutes is evaluating my whole group of people that I surround myself with. And are these people, am I helping them? Are they helping me? I always want to be in the middle of my 5 people. I want to be helping 2 or 3 people up, and I want to be helped by 2 or 3 people so that I can continually move and help people up and down a ladder, like up the ladder of life.
So I want to make a comment right there with Tim's question. See, I actually disagree that we can't help somebody be better or feel better. When's the last time? So
Help,
for
but I don't
instance,
think the change has to come from within.
it does, but for instance, so if with my wife, I'm always talking about the things that she does wrong versus really paying attention and verbalizing the things she does right, that will change the way she shows up in our marriage.
It changes the ability for us to change and influence people is only limited by how we choose to show up for them and the way that we communicate the most effectively for them, because everybody has different communication style, right? Thank you so much for joining us for Wired Wednesday. This has been your host, McKinnon Hansen, your local Farm Bureau financial agent and agent with the Larkin Group at KW Realty, 435-592-2021 or gocedarcity.com. Thank you so much, Jesse, for joining us for Wired Wednesday.
Have a good one. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.